Amazing discovery. Wealthy man finding cleaner and daughter sleeping on cold floor changes every. Michael stepped into the vacant property, the creaking of the floorboard sounding like a distant echo of his past. The biting chill in the air seemed almost alive, wrapping around him as he surveyed the desolate space, a stark reminder of his relentless pursuit of wealth. His empire was built on these investments, yet this particular property felt hollow, its potential marred by neglect. Unbeknownst to him, this day would uncover more than just bricks and mortar. As Michael rounded the corner, a shocking sight halted his breath. A woman and a little girl lay curled together on the cold, unforgiving floor. The young child's face, soft and innocent, contrasted sharply with the hardened lines of worry carved into her mother's brow. Rosa, he would later learn, was a cleaner, his cleaner, and an ounce of guilt crushed against his chest. Here was the stark reality hidden from his life of luxury, a chilling juxtaposition to his sprawling estate. These were people he had allowed to slip from memory while he spent his days negotiating deals in plush offices. The guilt began as a slight twinge, but quickly morphed into a conflicting surge of emotions. How could he have overlooked this? In that moment, he questioned everything: the purpose of his success, the emptiness that accompanied his wealth. He felt like a ghost roaming through the remnants of a life that now clashed with the humanity staring back at him. The smiles of affluent friends came to mind, all eagerly reinforcing the walls of privilege that never once allowed anyone like Rosa inside. Would they even understand? Perhaps they would condemn him for a kindness, for breaking ranks. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, looking at Rosa and Mia, Michael felt a stirring of something starkly new: compassion. He wrestled, heart racing, breath irregular. His instincts pushed him toward kindness, but layers of social expectations gripped him like a vice. He could offer Rosa a job cleaning his properties, a short-term solution that might not solve everything but could at least bring them warmth for a moment. Stepping back into the chilling realities of the world he had avoided was terrifying, yet the potential power he could wield to bring comfort felt intoxicating. However, as he weighed his options, his internal conflict intensified. The thought of defending Rosa and Mia against the wave of backlash from his circle gnawed at his resolve. Michael's hands clenched into fists, anger bursting against the betrayal of his own expectations. He longed to step toward them, to reach out and shatter the silence that hung in the air like a tightrope threatening to snap. In that cold, abandoned room, everything hung in the balance. The world he had built clashed violently against the true measure of wealth, the lives intertwined in his decision. Could he risk it all? With the icy wind whistling through the broken glass, Michael realized the choice before him posed more than just a task. It lay within the depths of his humanity. Would he confront the expectations and tether himself to the very essence he had long forgotten? The answer loomed, heavy with uncertainty, as he faced the stark reality of what loving action could yield. The chill of the empty property faded beneath a burgeoning warmth of resolve as Michael knelt beside Rosa and Mia. Their presence, so vulnerable against the harshness of that derelict space, unveiled a truth previously obscured by his pursuit of success. He felt an urgency to act, to mend the disappointment in his heart with purpose. Inside him, a quiet voice whispered for change, a voice he had stilled for too long in pursuit of profit. As he reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from Mia's forehead, he felt a jolt of connection. This was not just some charity, it was a human decision. He envisioned what it could mean to invite Rosa into his world, a world where she wouldn't be just an employee but a participant in rebuilding lives. The thought was exhilarating yet daunting. He could offer her a position with a salary that could lift both their lives, but what repercussions would follow? Michael stood, heart pounding as he pulled out his phone, a symbol of the world that had isolated him from genuine connections. Dialing his assistant, Evie, he quickly arranged the logistics. He would meet Rosa tomorrow, discuss a proper job, and provide the resources she needed. Words caught in his throat. What if she turned him down? What if she welcomed this opportunity but feared the risks of being associated with someone of his status? The contrasting weight of privilege and responsibility settled heavily upon his shoulders. Returning to his affluent life that evening, Michael could not shake the image of Rosa and Mia from his mind. He sat at his dining table, surrounded by fine china and the aroma of a gourmet meal. Yet, there was no pleasure found in it, only a numbing realization that comfort had come at a cost: the marginalization of people like them. Each bite felt like a betrayal, each sip of wine only magnified his discontent. He longed for authenticity, for a purpose that alighted with the flame of human connection rather than just superficial accolades. The nights that followed blurred together, his mind echoing with doubts. He oscillated between motivation and anxiety, replaying their moment of encounter, scrutinizing his intentions. This wasn't merely an act of charity. He could feel the stirrings of a new mission, one not merely centered on profits but on enriching lives. Yet, could he honestly make this a habit? Could he incorporate this reflected compassion into his business model? Days turned into a week, and soon the meeting came. As Rosa entered the cafe, her guarded expression spoke volumes. Everything around them became a stage for the precarious dance of expectations and desires. Michael's heart raced as he prepared for the conversation that required both honesty and vulnerability. "Rosa," he began, his voice steady but laced with an urgency. "I want to talk about work, about opportunities. I know this is unusual, but I want to help you. I don't just want you to work for me, I want to work with you." She stared, skepticism etched across her brow. The silence that followed felt heavy, filled with unspoken histories and cautious hopes. He could almost hear her thoughts racing. What did he truly want? What strings were attached? The air crackled with unvoiced questions and inner battles. Michael realized that the moment had shifted. It was not just his offer at play. He had opened a door for Rosa to step through. Would she see it as a chance or a trap? The tension thickened, anticipation heavy in the air as he awaited her response. And right then, he faced the realization the path to change was fraught with uncertainty. Every decision now held the weight of both potential and fear. He had stepped beyond the thresholds of wealth into a realm where humanity demanded integrity. In that moment, everything lay in question. Would he find the courage to bridge these worlds, and what revolution would it ignite in his life? Will Rosa accept his offer, or will the chasm between their worlds prove insurmountable? The moment hung in the air like fragile glass, teetering on the edge of breaking. Rosa's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing as she considered his words. The weight of his invitation loomed large. Michael held his breath, desperately searching her face for signs of understanding or rejection. "Why do you want to help me?" she finally asked, her voice low but direct, as if piercing through the fog of social niceties that often filled conversations. That question ricocheted in his mind, forcing him to confront his own motivations. Why did he want to take this leap? Was it guilt for his privilege? A moment of impulse or a genuine desire to connect? "I want to create opportunities, but not just for you," he struggled to articulate. "For me too. I want to make my life mean something more than just profit margins and investments." Silence enveloped them once more, and he felt the pulse of uncertainty thrumming between them. "You don't understand how hard it is," she replied, disbelief etched into her features. People like Mia, we don't get opportunities. We just survive." Her words clung to the room, suffocating him beneath their weight. He had anticipated resistance, but not this raw, unfiltered testament to her reality. "And what if we started to change that?" he urged, leaning forward, galvanizing his thoughts into words he hadn't planned. "What if your story was a part of something bigger, a project that could inspire others while providing real work?" Her eyes flickered with a blend of hope and skepticism, each emotion fighting for dominance in her expression. "And what makes you think I'm enough? I'm just a cleaner with a child." The challenge in her tone was unmistakable. "Maybe you're more than you think," Michael replied, surprised at the conviction behind his own assertion. "You have resilience, and that essay strength not many possess. Your voice matters, it's what has prevented you from being just a number or a statistic in my world. You can guide this journey, Rosa. Do you see that?" For a moment, her defenses softened. The walls she had built against disappointment wavered, if only briefly. He didn't know if he was being naive, but in her presence, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, as if this could be the door both of them needed to step through, together. "Let us say I consider your offer," Rosa began, her voice steadier now yet cautious. "What would this mean for Mia? I can't risk her future." Michael understood the depths of her concern. As a child, Mia seemed to illuminate the room with her laughter, but darkness often dulled that light. "Your daughter will be prioritized in everything we create. I promise that much," he reassured her, sensing that trust ran deeper than mere words. Suddenly, a thought gripped him, a revelation born from Rosa's presence. What if this wasn't merely about employment? What if they could empower each other in ways he had never anticipated? It could become a mentorship for both of them, a shared journey of growth that transcended their disparate backgrounds, yet doubts crept in once more. Would she truly embrace this partnership, or see him as merely another well-meaning businessman who would eventually pull away? Would he be able to honor her trust amidst the pressures of his existing corporate life? "I need to think," Rosa finally stated, breaking the spell that had bound them. As she stood to leave, Michael felt a pang of urgency. He realized that the momentum he had built could easily dissipate if he didn't act decisively. He needed to find a way to prove his commitment without suffocating her chance to choose. "Wait!" he called out, voice cutting through the growing distance. "I'll give you time. But let us meet again soon. I'll show you what this could be, for Mia and for you." Her eyes locked onto his, shadows of uncertainty still lurking there. "I'll think about it, Michael. But don't expect this to be easy." As she left, he felt a turbulent blend of hope and fear swirling within him. The challenge now was to keep that door wide open, to turn this fragile moment of connection into a foundation of trust. Yet he wondered, could they both defy the scars of their pasts and forge a different future amidst their vulnerabilities? The urgency to act on this discovered purpose ignited within him. He realized that he not only had to create opportunities for Rosa but also to confront his own trajectory and redefine success itself. Will he succeed in making this partnership a bridge instead of a barrier, or will the fears of their realities pull them apart? Michael returned home that night, unsettled thoughts weaving through his mind like a fraying thread. The fragile connection he had begun to build with Rosa now coiled tightly around his conscience. He had always navigated the world of finance with a clear understanding of risks and rewards, but this felt different, more akin to a balancing act fringed with emotional stakes he had never faced. As he fumbled with his keys at the door, memories of their conversation echoed like a haunting refrain. Rosa's skepticism had shot arrows of doubt into his firm resolve. Could he really inspire someone who had battled against the tide her entire life? Did he possess the skills to mentor her in a meaningful way, or were his ambitions just another form of paternalism cloaked in altruism? He stepped inside the dimly lit apartment, where familiar comforts greeted him yet felt strangely hollow tonight. It was as if the walls bore witness to the dichotomy of his existence, one filled with privilege and the other just outside his grasp. Sitting on the couch, he contemplated how he measured success. It had always revolved around making deals and maximizing profits. But what had he truly accomplished if his impact didn't reach lives like Rosa's? That night, he lay in bed, restlessly tossing and turning. He envisioned Rosa's face, the glimmer of hope amidst the shadows of uncertainty, and he understood he couldn't just back away. He needed to articulate a meaningful plan, not just an idea but a solid path that could incorporate both their strengths. Could he leverage his resources to create something tangible, as well as empowering? The next morning brought clarity with the sun's rays, illuminating his resolve. He rose earlier than usual, equipped with a notebook and a sense of purpose. He scribbled down ideas that threaded through his rationale like a compass. What if Rosa could co-create a service model that featured her insights as the driving force? He could map out the groundwork while providing resources, and she could lend her unique perspective. As the day progressed, he kept the lines of communication open with his corporate contacts. He sought advice on initiatives that focused on social impact. The conversations felt refreshing as a newfound direction sparked within him. He realized he needed allies not just for Rosa, but for his own transformation. His pursuit of investing could intertwine with a deeper purpose. Days turned into a week, and each day brought a new challenge and a point of reflection. Michael reached out to Rosa, offering to meet sooner than initially suggested. Their first meeting had stirred something within him, a recognition that purpose could reshape not just individual lives but the corporate world itself. He almost hesitated to call her again. What if she deemed his eagerness presumptuous? But something compelled him forward. This wasn't merely about him including her in a project. This was about both of them redefining self-worth against the backdrop of their shared realities. When he finally managed to connect, he could sense a shift in her energy. Rosa sounded intrigued, perhaps even a bit encouraged by the prospect he presented. "Can we meet tomorrow?" he proposed, his voice imbued with determination. "Yes, let us," she agreed, the crack of excitement softened by the ever-present caution of her reality. As he hung up, Michael wrestled with the looming uncertainty of their next encounter. Would she take him seriously? Could he truly ignite a change for both of them? The gravity of their ambitions weighed heavily, yet for the first time, a sense of belonging amidst the fear settled within him. Little did he know that as he stepped into this unknown territory, real challenges awaited him, confrontations that would not only test him but also deepen his understanding of the barriers Rosa faced. What awaited him on the other side of that meeting could reshape everything he thought he knew about partnership, trust, and the true meaning of success. Michael entered the café, a modest establishment that had seen better days. The air was thick with the aroma of brewing coffee mixed with faint hints of burnt pastry. He scanned the room, the hustle and bustle of conversations contrasting sharply with the focused purpose driving him today. The clock ticked steadily, amplifying his anticipation. He spotted Rosa near the back, her figure small and slightly hunched over, deep in thought. As he approached, he couldn't help but notice the struggles etched on her face. It was easy to assume that someone in her position would feel defeated, yet today there was a flicker of determination in her eyes. This moment felt significant, a turning point for both of them. "Hey, Rosa," he greeted, settling into the chair across from her. "Hi, Michael. Thanks for meeting so soon," she replied, a hint of wariness layered over her voice. Unfamiliar tension threaded between them, each acutely aware of the gravity in their ambitions. "Absolutely. I've been thinking about our last conversation and how we could make this work." He leaned in slightly, hoping to bridge the distance, both physical and emotional. Rosa's brow furrowed. "What exactly do you have in mind?" Michael hesitated. He had envisioned this moment countless times, rehearsing his pitch in the mirror, crafting sentences in his mind as if they were investment portfolios. But reality proved different. "I think we can create a project where your insights become the core. Imagine a service model that empowers people who struggle as you have." Her skepticism rose, evident in the set of her jaw. "And how does that help me? I know you want to make a difference, but I've seen initiatives come and go. Sometimes they're more about the optics than the impact." Her words cut deeper than he anticipated. He had witnessed the way some people in his field approached social causes, often as mere opportunities rather than genuine efforts. "I'm not like that," he asserted, the fervor in his voice surprising even him. "I genuinely want to forge a partnership, one where your experience guides our direction. We can shape this together." Rosa regarded him skeptically, eyes narrowing as she assessed his sincerity. "What if I can't keep up? What if I fail?" Her vulnerability hung in the air, and Michael recognized it. It mirrored his own fears in many ways. "What if you succeed?" he countered gently. "What if we create something powerful that changes lives?" He saw a flicker of hope in her eyes, an ember waiting for air. "Okay," she said slowly, testing the waters. But I need to be real with you, Michael. This won't be easy. We need to expose the barriers, not just build a project around them. Agreed, he replied, nodding. I need you to tell me everything, your insights, your experiences. It will be crucial in our approach. Rosa took a deep breath, her expression softening. Fine. But I don't want any illusions. We're wading into waters that others fear to touch. The realities out there are harsh. His determination solidified. I'm ready to dive in. If we're going to make a difference, we must confront the uncomfortable truths head-on. Their conversation flowed, weaving shared aspirations and grounded realities. She shared stories of her past, the trials she faced, and the systemic obstacles she navigated. With each revelation, Michael felt layers of misunderstanding lift, replacing them with a critical urgency to act. However, as the meeting drew to a close, a voice in the back of his mind whispered doubts. Could he genuinely help without amplifying Rosa's fears of failure? He had entered this partnership driven by sincerity, yet the reality of executing their vision raised new questions about his qualifications. The richness of her experiences contrasted starkly with his privileged path. Before she left, Rosa looked him squarely in the eye. Promise me this isn't a pet project for you. If it falls apart, we both walk away. No one will be left holding the bag. He met her gaze, steel in his resolve. I promise. But I believe we can succeed. This is a shared journey, and I won't abandon that commitment. As she nodded and stood to leave, Michael felt an electric undercurrent of anticipation mixed with fear. His commitment to this venture would not only define the partnership but also challenge everything he had believed about success. What awaited them in the deeper waters of their collaboration could either repair or fracture their budding alliance. And perhaps, just perhaps, this journey would lead both to unraveling the true meaning of their respective identities and aspirations. A new challenge awaited him, the first critical step in turning their words into action. What conversation or confrontation would ultimately test their burgeoning trust? Michael left the cafe feeling invigorated yet weighed down by the enormity of the task ahead. He had taken the first step, a leap into uncharted waters that would require more than just professional acumen. It demanded emotional resilience and an unwavering commitment to the unsettling truths Rosa had laid bare. In the days that followed, Michael plunged into research that disintegrated the comfort of his previous perspective on social initiatives. He faced grim statistics that illustrated the plight of those weighed down by societal barriers, and with every click, his sense of responsibility deepened. He understood that a mere project would not suffice. Their endeavor needed to be a movement, one rooted in authenticity and empathy. Michael's evenings, once reserved for relaxation, morphed into brainstorming marathons. He filled his notebook with ideas, program structures, community resources, outreach strategies. Yet, the more he wrote, the more elusive clarity became. As ambitious as he had been, the thrill of creation was dimmed by the question that hung over him: could he truly bear the weight of someone else's reality without slipping into a savior complex? He decided to extend his research beyond numbers and theoretical frameworks. Reaching out to social workers and community leaders, he listened to their stories, the triumphs, the trials, and the heart-wrenching losses. With each conversation, Michael found pieces of his own identity unraveling and reshaping into something far more profound. He discovered hidden strengths. His capacity for compassion bloomed as he absorbed their experiences. Then came the day he scheduled a follow-up meeting with Rosa. As he prepared, he wrestled with an internal conflict. While he had become more informed, he still feared standing before her in a superior light. He challenged himself, reminding his reflection that this was no hierarchy, it was a partnership. They needed to share burdens, not just responsibilities. When he arrived at the cafe once more, Rosa was already seated, her eyes observing him with sharp intensity. Michael felt the weight of her expectations. "So, have you been busy?" she asked, her tone unreadable. "I've been researching," he replied, taking a seat. "I want to approach this project differently. It needs to be grounded in the truth of lived experiences, not just statistics. He could see her skepticism flare briefly before she masked it. That's a start, she admitted. But I hope you're aware that this won't just be about facts. Emotional truths are harder to quantify. I know, he said, leaning forward. I've realized that uncovering the barriers means embracing discomfort, even for us. We can't build from the surface. The moment grew heavy with unspoken apprehensions. Rosa's expression softened. She was assessing if he truly understood the gravity of what lay ahead. When I shared my story with you, I thought it might scare you off. I didn't want to dampen your enthusiasm. I gained respect for your journey, he replied firmly. You made it real for me. Now that I'm more informed, I need your help to ensure our approach resonates. I can't walk into places you've navigated without understanding the residue of fear and doubt they carry. She nodded slowly, visibly relieved. Okay. But we also need to face the reality that we'll encounter resistance, even from those who should want change. Indeed, he acknowledged. How do we prepare for that? As they delved into strategies to build their initiative, the sense of shared purpose brightened the mood. Rosa's insights were grounded, informed by her past, and Michael found himself inspired to devise an actionable framework that reflected their collective understanding. Yet, amidst their brainstorming, doubt snaked its way back into Michael's thoughts. Could he remain steadfast when faced with the harsh truths that defined their cause? Would he maintain the courage to stand firm as their endeavor met obstacles both external and internal? His mind buzzed with possibilities, punctuated by nagging fears about his own limitations. The burgeoning trust between them began to transform into something powerful, but there remained an unsettling undercurrent of uncertainty. It whispered that their next meeting with potential partners might uncover hidden adversities that could strain their alliance. As he returned home, Michael contemplated the bridges they were building, aware that the emotional landscape was barely charted. Yet, amid this uncertainty something had solidified within him. A new conviction was forming, and he was willing to bend but not break. The stakes were higher now, and as they prepared to present their vision publicly, a confrontation loomed. Who would challenge their intentions, and would they have the resolve to face those challenges together? Michael's heart raced in the moments leading up to their next meeting with potential partners. The soft murmur of the cafe surrounded him, blending with the whirlwind of thoughts in his mind. He picked up his coffee, letting the bitter warmth seep in, but the comfort it usually offered felt less tangible now, replaced by a gnawing anticipation. Rosa arrived, her demeanor exuding a mix of professionalism and underlying nerves. As they settled into a table by the window, he could see she was equally affected by the gravity of what awaited them. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her eyes searching his for reassurance. Michael glanced outside at the street, where the world hustled on, blissfully unaware of the significance of their upcoming presentation. "More than I was last week, that's for sure," he replied, allowing a smile as an attempt to mask his internal turmoil. As they reviewed their proposal, Michael felt fingers of doubt creeping back in. He had spent countless hours shaping their ideas into a coherent structure, but now the looming fear of judgment turned his confidence into a frail whisper. He watched Rosa's lips move as she discussed their goals, her passion palpable, yet he found himself hesitating before every word he chose to add, fearing it might dilute her vision. "Michael," she interrupted, her voice steady. "You need to step into this. This is a partnership. Your insights matter." Her tone didn't just provoke a sense of obligation, it forged a pathway toward their shared aspirations. The weight of his responsibilities pressed heavier now, as he recognized the truth in her assertion. She was right, their alliance meant they needed to be vulnerable. His determination surged as they finalized their presentation points. They discussed strategies for addressing potential setbacks, developing preemptive responses to the critique they might face. The two began to mold their uncertainty into strength, each brainstorming session shedding another layer of fear. Yet, Michael couldn't ignore the relentless tick-tock of what lay ahead. They had set the stage for their vision, but would it resonate with those who held power? He envisioned their future partnership meetings, faces of skeptical stakeholders looming, eyes narrowing at the audacity of a young man and a woman trying to rattle long-established systems. "Remember," Rosa said, breaking his reverie. "We're not here to ask for permission. We're here to invite them into something transformative." Her conviction rippled through him, and he felt a surge of gratitude. She was the anchor, the reminder that they were armed with experience, passion, and the fire to make change. As the moment for their presentation approached, Michael's hands trembled slightly but held a certainty he hadn't felt before. With each step he took toward the conference room, he accepted the reality: he could no longer sit on the sidelines of his own life, merely a spectator to others' pains. He needed to step into his role fully, to advocate with the strength Rosa inspired in him. As they entered, the deliberation dulled in the air, heavy with anticipation. Michael stood at the threshold, taking a deep breath before their audience. Yet a single shadow flickered in the back of his mind, a challenge he hadn't anticipated. What if they reacted not with curiosity, but with hostility? What if his fears materialized, and the very allies they sought were instead adversaries? The moment arrived, he felt the room shift as all eyes turned toward them. Would the belief he cultivated within thrive under scrutiny, or crumble when confronted by the harsh judgment of those in power? The stakes were higher than ever, every word poised to tip the balance. Michael took a step forward, ready to reveal their vision and confront the unknown, unaware of the challenge that awaited them. Michael squared his shoulders as he stepped into the room, confronting an array of expectant faces gathered at the long conference table. The air crackled with a blend of skepticism and curiosity, a living reminder of the high stakes. Here lay the arena where he would either find his voice or falter under the weight of expectation. Articulating their ideas felt like balancing on a tightrope, the abyss of doubt looming dangerously beneath. He stole a glance at Rosa, whose unyielding focus steadied him. She nodded encouragingly, and he felt a jolt of shared resolve flowing between them. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice surprisingly steady. "Thank you for taking the time to meet with us." He took a moment to scan the room, recognizing familiar faces and new ones, each radiating disdain or curiosity. An emotional minefield awaited him. The presentation unfolded around him like a well-rehearsed play, yet with each slide he presented, Michael felt a raw vulnerability surface. The statistic-heavy slides reflected their commitment to transforming processes, but it was the personal stories behind their ideas that ignited a spark in him. He narrated a tale of the struggles his neighborhood faced, children forced to learn in inadequate conditions due to systemic neglect. Michael hesitated, weighing the risk of exposing his own background. But as he looked at Rosa, he knew the truth had the power to resonate. A flicker of surprise crossed the faces of the stakeholders as he revealed the challenges that motivated his passion. The shift in energy was palpable. They leaned in, curiosity breaking the previously established barriers. Michael pressed forward, emboldened by their subtle change in demeanor. A question rippled through the audience, a stark, unmistakable challenge. "What makes you think your approach will work where others have failed?" Instinctively, Michael's heart raced. He had anticipated skepticism, but facing it head-on unsettled him. Yet in that moment of vulnerability, he recalled Rosa's words: "This is a partnership." He couldn't retreat, he had to engage. "Because it starts with us," he replied, drawing in a deeper breath. "Our commitment, our lived experiences, drive us to create solutions that truly serve the needs of the community. We're not just looking for funding, we want to build relationships that are sustained by mutual trust and accountability." He sensed a ripple of recognition among a few, the questioners shifting from a place of hostility to one of inquiry. This new dynamic earned him a surge of confidence. Michael was not just presenting a plan, he was advocating for individuals like himself, giving them a voice and a facade of power. Uncertainty morphed into clarity, igniting ideas that had previously lurked in the shadows of his mind. As the presentation continued, Michael felt an emerging sense of clarity and purpose. Each point made resonated with his core belief that real change required authenticity. He could feel the stakeholders absorbing the essence of their vision, their skepticism melting, a powerful shift that exceeded mere business. After he concluded, Rosa took charge, seamlessly transitioning into the QA segment. Her command of the room magnified Michael's earlier confidence, as she deftly navigated technical questions, elaborating on their strategies with eloquence. He admired the way she effortlessly deflected criticism while strengthening their prospects, but even as the atmosphere brightened, an undercurrent of tension still ebbed through Michael. Would their newfound momentum be enough? The collective fidgeting of pens and the murmur of quiet deliberations told him that this was just the beginning. What was yet to come could shatter the emerging alliance or solidify their place among the decision-makers. As the meeting drew to a close, he sensed a mix of hope and apprehension within himself. They had made their mark, but now it was time to confront the remaining stakeholders, those who might harbor lingering doubts. And what if they questioned the sincerity of his intentions, believing this was just another attempt to alter the status quo without substance? "Thank you for your insights," one of the senior executives stated, eyes narrowing as he weighed their presentation. "We will take this into consideration." As they exited the conference room, Michael's heart still fluttered with adrenaline. The result felt precarious, dangling like an unfinished sentence. They had connected, yet uncertainty clung to him. In the midst of triumph, there remained the question that haunted him: where would their endeavor lead if that connection turned cold? With newfound determination, he resolved not to let the fear of rejection paralyze him again. Instead, he would face whatever challenges arose with the same courage he had summoned today. But little did he know that an unexpected obstacle loomed just beyond the horizon, threatening to dismantle everything he had fought to build. Michael's footsteps echoed in the corridor as he left the conference room, the buzz of conversation fading behind him. Adrenaline coursed through his veins, a potent mixture of exhilaration and apprehension. Although the presentation felt like it had gone well, uncertainty clung to him like a shadow. Would they truly understand the depth of his commitment? Was it enough to merely connect, or did he need to dive deeper, exposing more of himself to truly resonate with these decision-makers? Rosa walked beside him, and despite her initial confidence, the tension was palpable. "What are you thinking?" she asked, her tone oscillating between encouragement and concern. "I just can't shake the nagging feeling," that he hesitated, grappling with his thoughts. "What if they don't see this as anything beyond a proposal? It's more than a project for me. It's personal." Rosa nodded, her gaze steady. "Then make that your mission. Bring them into your story. Let them see the people behind the numbers." With that, Michael felt a flicker of conviction sparking within him. They had just witnessed a glimpse of his truth. Perhaps he needed to amplify that truth rather than conceal it in strategic jargon. He had caught their attention, and now the challenge lay in keeping it an audacious light bulb moment that could carve out his path forward. As they navigated back to their shared workspace, he began devising a plan, envisioning the next steps. The upcoming report needed to delve deeper, statistics intertwined with personal anecdotes, synthesizing data with narrative. There was strength in authenticity, a currency far richer than mere figures in a ledger. Suddenly, Michael's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Heart racing, he opened it. "I saw your presentation today. I need to speak with you. It's urgent." Tom, the weight of the message resonated within him, setting off alarm bells. What could Tom possibly want that was urgent? Michael had always regarded Tom with a sense of wariness, an enigmatic figure who floated through the periphery of the corporate world, with connections to influential players but a questionable track record. "Who's Tom?" Rosa pushed, her brows arching in curiosity. "Someone I've crossed paths with in the past." "What does he want?" "I'm not sure," Michael admitted, anxiety tightening in his chest. "But I think it's about today's meeting." "Then you should definitely find out," she urged. "It could be important." Taking a deep breath, he replied to Tom, arranging a meeting for later that afternoon. Doubt trickled in, was reaching out to someone like Tom a gamble he was willing to take? Yet the urgency outweighed his hesitation. If there was anything that could help secure their vision, he couldn't afford to dismiss it outright. As he arrived home later that night, the shadows of self-doubt resurfaced. He opened his laptop and began organizing his thoughts for the impending meetings. He envisioned the moments of vulnerability he would share, the realities of life that often went unnoticed. His mind raced through memories, each one laden with lessons about resilience and accountability, values he needed to articulate to create foundation for the collaboration he sought. Suddenly, he froze. A vivid image of a specific moment solidified in his mind, the day he found a child in the same neighborhood he had spoken about, huddled on a cold floor, a makeshift blanket barely keeping the chill at bay. It had struck him then, the stark contrasts of wealth and poverty, of opportunity and neglect. He understood the stakes. This was not just about funding, this was about life changes. Driven by resolve, he realized that overcoming his fear of rejection wasn't simply necessary, it was imperative. What he truly feared was losing the ability to effect change, a feeling that catalyzed his next step. He couldn't merely present data, he had to present a clarion call for a partnership that communicated urgency and integrity. The clock chimed late into the night as he drafted his ideas with renewed vigor, preparing to face Tom and any challenges that awaited him. As he smiled to himself, envisioning the potential for growth, the looming question on his mind remained: what price would he pay for that growth, and would the cost serve a greater purpose? The moment of truth was approaching, and Michael felt the weight of destiny pressing upon his shoulders, a weight that was growing heavier with every second. Michael stood before Rosa, a renewed sense of purpose simmering within him. After countless hours of brainstorming and strategizing, they had come to a pivotal moment: the launch of their collaborative project designed to uplift marginalized communities. Together, they were embarking on a mission that fused personal narratives with actionable solutions, hoping to empower those who felt invisible. The day began with excitement and trepidation. The event was set for early afternoon, in a community center that had always been more than just a building. It was a beacon of hope for families like Rosa's. The promotional material emphasized their theme: empowered voices, empowered futures. Michael had spent what felt like an eternity curating this day, but he also feared whether they could live up to the gravity of their vision. As they arrived at the center, Michael was immediately struck by the smiling faces and children playing in a makeshift play area. The vibrant atmosphere felt electric, underscoring the reality that today was not about them but about the individuals and families they aimed to serve. "This is it," Michael breathed, glancing at Rosa, who seemed to glow with determination. Rosa's demeanor sharpened the moment they stepped into the main hall, where rows of chairs waited for an audience. "We will make this count," she affirmed, her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. Michael nodded, feeling the euphoria of their shared commitment. This was the moment where intention and action would collide. The event commenced, and the crowd trickled in, each person carrying their own story, their own struggles. Families filled the seats, mingling with stakeholders and community leaders. As Michael took the stage to open the presentation, he felt that familiar pulse of vulnerability return. But as he gazed at Rosa in the front row, he solidified his resolve. This wasn't just an abstract concept, it was a tangible push towards real change. That he spoke passionately about the need to empower individuals, weaving in personal anecdotes that drew from both their shared experiences. The audience listened intently, nods of understanding emanating among them. Together, they created a fabric of trust, where walls of skepticism began to erode. The presentation evolved into an interactive dialogue, with Rosa joining him to share her own story. The authenticity of her voice lent palpable weight to the endeavor, capturing hearts. She spoke about the grit necessary to navigate ongoing challenges, giving a rawness to the mission that resonated deeply. As they concluded, applause erupted, but deeper than that was the palpable sense of collective hope and solidarity evident in the room. They hadn't just presented a business model, they had woven a human tapestry that united their individual stories in a call for transformation. In a follow-up Q&A session, one community leader stood, voice unwavering. "How can we, as a community, ensure this initiative truly reflects our needs?" Michael and Rosa exchanged glances, sensing the underlying significance of the question. Michael responded confidently, by working together to curate ongoing dialogues. "This project isn't solely ours, it's yours. We want your guidance, your insights." The conversation flowed naturally thereafter, with ideas burgeoning from everyone present. Michael felt a sense of clarity and connection that stretched beyond the mundane financial accolades that once defined him. Here, he experienced the rich depth of human resilience and cooperation. After the event, as attendees networked and shared stories, Michael caught sight of Rosa speaking with a group of families. He observed her, embodying the spirit of empowerment they aimed for, glowing from the connections she made. He felt a swell of pride not just for her but for the journey they had undertaken together. This was a project rooted in their shared humanity, not mere charitable outreach. Weeks turned into months, and the fruits of their labor began to flourish, with initiatives actively shaping lives in ways he had previously only dreamed of. Families found job placements, children engaged in mentorship programs, and countless stories echoed resilience and recovery where previously there had been silence. The transformation in Michael was evident. Gone was the man burdened by expectations of privilege, replaced by one who understood true wealth came not from monetary gain but from uplifting others. He embraced vulnerability as a source of strength, allowing it to guide both his professional and personal life. One afternoon, the culmination of this journey found Michael standing before a gathering of local leaders celebrating the project's milestones. As he shared heartfelt words expressing gratitude for their shared journey, he realized he had come full circle. A man who had once prioritized wealth now lived for connection, compassion, and collective progress. The applause that followed rang not just as approval of their initiative but a resounding acknowledgement of a new reality forged through concerted effort. Looking out over the crowd, he saw Rosa smiling and applauding, her daughter Mia beside her, beaming with pride. In that moment, Michael recognized his own transformation. He had not only aimed to uplift Rosa and Mia but had inadvertently reshaped his own narrative. The sense of triumph was palpable. Not only had they built something meaningful but he had conquered his own fears of inadequacy. They created an empowering platform, breathing life into dreams while rekindling the spirit of community. This partnership flourished, rooted deeply in collaboration, paving a way toward shared aspirations and mutual respect. Michael stood there, fully aware of the personal growth he had undergone. He was no longer bound by the confines of high-stakes investments but liberated by a newfound purpose, life redefined by integrity and connection. This was not merely an ending but the promise of new beginnings, where every voice mattered and every story had the potential to inspire. Now, the call to action loomed larger than ever. Real change demanded sustained effort beyond this moment. The journey was not over, it had only just begun. Don't wait one more second. If you found inspiration in this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel and join this movement of personal growth and transformation. Leave a like now to support the algorithm that fuels stories of overcoming challenges. Comment below with your thoughts and predictions about what comes next. Your voice matters. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this extraordinary conclusion. It's time to spread the message of empowerment and change.